Hello everybody and welcome to the Academy of Arts. Feeling very arty today. Do you know what I was doing yesterday? Funnily enough, because I'm having this massive clear out of my apartment, I'm just, getting rid of old felt pens that haven't worked for 6 years. Do you know what I mean? We've all got those. Biros that no longer work. Because I've been a practicing artist for so long, I have absolutely masses of equipment. I've already had clear outs. Last year I had a little clear out of the studio. But this year I'm having a really serious clear out. Massive. Just, because I know what work I want to make. And I'm kind of getting rid of everything I don't need. So, massive collation of everything I've got. Because you forget what materials you have. You forget what equipment you have. And you go and buy another. See what I mean? So my rule for today is to put all the biros in one pot. And it's good to have pots because you can see them. You can put them all on a shelf and you can see what's in there. I'm not saying it's going to stay that organised for long. Probably won't. But pots are good. And put them colour side up so you can see the colours as well. It's a good tip, that, actually. You can really see what you've got. I think, do they say you shouldn't do that because all the ink goes to the bottom of the container, the vessel or whatever is inside? Probably. But, then I can't see what I'm doing. So anyway, loads and loads of biros just straight in the bin. Loads of felt tips straight in the bin. But then I've got acrylic pens that I bought about 7 years ago and they still work. Amazing. So you have to test everything. So I thought I've been doing that. But actually testing everything, it takes forever. Just do it on a bit of paper and see what happens. If there's a bit of ink in it and you think I can get another sketch out of it, a sketched landscape. Because I find when I'm doing landscapes, a pen that's slightly run out is quite useful. It gives this sort of slightly hazy feel. So that can be used. It's quite interesting, isn't it? The texture. And I'm all about texture at the moment. So now I was doing the presents, I'm doing these 3 presents. So I've got 2 going somewhere and 1 spare. I thought I might keep it. And I've gold-leafed old vinyl records. And I'm mounting them on the back of the frame that they're going to be mounted within. So the actual hardboard on the back of the frame. It's just so much easier. Not ideal, because it means they're dependent on the frame. But I'll attach them in such a way that they can be removed relatively easily. So they're not necessarily part of the work. Although, having said that, then perhaps they will be. Now, the thing with hardboard, it does warp. So, it's not particularly permanent. But I think if they start to warp, I will say to the giftees to give them back and I'll remount them onto, something harder. Anyway, they might not even like them. I mean, you don't know, do you? You can't tell at this juncture. I'm a bit nervous about them, I must say. So anyway, they're almost finished, but I needed to paint the background, the hardboard. And I had a huge pot of white paint because we were doing the recycled clothes with it. Can't find it. I've thrown it out. In this mass tidy up, I've thrown out, because a couple of the pots that I opened were mouldy. So I just got it mixed up and I've chucked it out. Can you imagine? So anyway, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, I did find, while I was doing this massive clear up, I found matte black paint. So blackboard paint. And it's pouring with rain today. And I thought, well, do I go out and buy white paint or do I try this black? I quite fancy it, guys. Now, the thing with matte is once the glass is on, it's a faux glass, it's acrylic, you won't know if it's matte anyway. You won't be able to tell because the cover is shiny. But do you necessarily want shiny? Because shiny, the gold leaf is so shiny it makes your eyes burn. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, that's actually really good. That's going to make it more textural. You've got the matte, very flat, and then you've got the gold, which is on top of oil paint, which has been textured, and then gold-leafed. So more texture. Do you see what I mean? And texture's exciting for us artists. texture, even when you can't touch it, if you can see it, it adds so much more dimension. It starts looking slightly three-dimensional, perhaps. But it also adds, contrast and just interesting dynamics to a piece. So I've been sitting here thinking, why didn't I think of that before? Anyway, guys, look, I'm going to try it. You'll be able to watch the video over on the TV show. So that's today planned. I'm going to do those and a couple of other things with my new well, it's not a new camera. It's all my old equipment that I've found. It's out of the cupboard. It's where I can see it. And the thing with having art materials where you can see them, and I do consider a camera an art material, a tool, perhaps is a better word. You kind of want to pick it up and click, click, click. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really tempted when every time I look up at that shelf, I think, should I photograph anything, something, nothing, whatever. So I'm going to do that today as well. And maybe you can join me over at the TV show. I'll do a little video of what I've taken photographs of. Because I really like this idea of interior photography and still life. Still life is so personal, isn't it? When you look at the old masters, the still lives of all the fruit, it's very personal. It tells a lot. I mean, I don't know if they constructed this fruit and wine in the way that you construct an Instagram photo, moving things around. But I quite like the documentative type, the documentary type photograph that shows reality of life as it is, the mess, the abundance, the lack of, the living, the streamlined living or the excess of living. All of these things. I mean, I've always been into documentary. And in fact, when I was at university, I did my BA, my first degree, before I went on to Edinburgh to do my master's. I did my thesis on documentary. And, so even back then, it seems a long time ago now, I've wanted to document things. And of course, people who are using social media, they're usually documenting things. But the problem is you're not documenting for the idea of art. You're documenting to get popular, to get likes, to cause intrigue that's very now in the moment rather than futuristic. But when you create art, really, I think you're thinking about a future of the piece, who it will be looked at in the future. I think that's the biggest difference. And that you have to be careful with Google, because Google is all about the now. Google loves now. Google's not particularly interested in the past or the future. Which is why, they say depression, you need to be thinking in the now, not about the past or the future. But artists have to think about the past and the future. Maybe that's why we're all depressed. Us artists, we do get depressed. Anyway, I've got a big day ahead, so I better get on with it. That's just the intro for today. So lots happening, lots of arty-farty stuff. I've also actually just launched the new podcast, which has been on the back burner for a bit, which is all about healing. And because I'm a music therapist and I do a lot of healing through music on my releases and on iTunes and Spotify, etc. But I'm not allowed to play music on my podcast. So the podcast for the Rife Vibes, Music Therapy and Vibrations, is more about self-hypnosis, me talking, the sleep genie. That's my nighttime getting you off to sleep by being boring. It's not really about being boring. It's about not exciting too much. You can't be excited when you're going to bed. You will not sleep. You need to be bored. I find listening to podcasts gets me off a treat, actually. It really does. So there we go. I'll be back later.